Welcome to the April edition of BBRO BeetCast. I'm Francesca Broom, your host and Knowledge Exchange Manager for BBRO. This month we meet with Dr. Alistair Wright and Stephen Aldous to discuss the challenge of the aphid migration. We're all aware that 2022 could be a difficult year, but rest assured BBRO have got a number of trials and are working very closely with growers to find some solutions. Let's join Stephen and Alistair to hear more. Welcome, Steve and Alistair. Here we are at Morley Farms today. It's been lovely weather this last couple of weeks, and I'm sure a lot of the growers are keen to get on with drilling. And I know this field is actually going to be for the RL, isn't it, Stephen?
Yeah, so Morley's one of our regular trial sites. So RL, amongst many other things, coming into this field this year, yeah, definitely.
And we have to think quite far ahead, because actually you'll be drilling for the 2023 list, which will actually be commercially on sale for 2024.
Yes. So, yeah, always working almost 2 years ahead. But then we're always working 6 months ahead of that with field selection, soil sampling and getting all the trials located. So, yeah, it's a long process. And how many of the varieties will actually be here? So, good question, Ches. So, all of the RL varieties and all of the up-and-coming varieties will be in that trial. So, in total, I'd imagine it'd be around 150 plots, something like that. So, 4 replicates of each. But, yeah, all the varieties, the ALS technology is in there. It is under a conventional herbicide programme, though, because obviously it is integrated within the whole trial, and we couldn't just plot spray those. Obviously, there'd be a risk of the non-conviso beet around it if we were to do so. So, yeah, all the varieties are there, and we are looking at doing some additional conviso testing as well to get that data out to growers. And the RL is replicated across 4 sites? So no, it'll be more than that. It's 8 treated trials and 4 untreated trials will be going in the ground this year. And that's spread right across the growing area? Yeah, so anywhere from Lincoln down to south of Bury and everywhere in between. Yeah, so it's quite a few miles you're going to be clocking up, you and the team. Yeah, so BBRO, we host 4 treated and the 4 untreated, and then we use some of the other trial operators to make up the rest, just to spread the risk and spread the workload. And there are a number of other trials going on here, and I know, Alistair, you've got one with your endophyte grass that's here in front of us. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, I can indeed, Ches. So endophyte grass, I came across it in New Zealand. Was sort of dragged off with the breeder to learn more about it one of the days I was visiting. And this is actually a variety of grass that contains an endophyte, and that's a fungus that gives off chemicals that are supposed to control insects. Out in New Zealand, it's used widely to optimise yields of their grass in their paddocks, but here we're trying to now use it a little more integrated with sugar beet. So Stephen and the team planted some, in September? Yeah. And it's been growing since, and there's quite a good sward out there at the moment. It's been rolled. Now we're going to hopefully kill off the grass in a few different ways and look at how it releases the chemicals into the soil. Well, the theory is, whether it works or not, is that then the sugar beet will take up these very soluble chemicals called lolines in through their roots, and they'll end up in their leaves. So when the aphids arrive, they'll be killed off. We'll see how it goes. This is our second year of trying. Last year had a negative effect, so we'll see how we get on this year. But
I didn't really want to burst your bubble then, but I was going to ask how last year's trial went.
I think it's a good lesson. We were sort of working on just structures near to drilling as possible, and we were probably actually too good in that. So we're actually working further away from the drilling date now and starting to desiccate that grass off. So,
and that's sort of a little bit similar to the camo cropping project, isn't it, where you're going to do an undersown cereal crop. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? Because I know that's not obviously a chemical or toxin within that, but it has a similar treatment with the aphids, isn't it?
So I guess in the field it would look sort of similar in that we're introducing green cover, but obviously with the grass we're destroying it before the beet crop, whereas the idea with the camo cropping is that we're growing them concurrently. So as with a windblow crop, the barley is just growing around the beet. The difference being is we're trying to hold that barley crop until the aphid migration has occurred. So actually what we're seeing this year and what we're working to at BBRO is that we'll drill the barley and the beet probably in the same day to try and hold that barley back as long as possible to get us through that aphid migration.
But it doesn't just have to be barley, does it? As long as it's a small root structure?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do use barley for windblow, so that's probably the natural choice for a grower. But any cereal's welcome, really. It's what we've said. It's give it a go. There's a comprehensive 3-page guide on the BBRO website that we've put together. It helps you sort of make sure you do it right so we can analyse the data at the end. Send us the data sheet and we'll sort of do the rest, come and do some virus scoring and hopefully use some drone or satellite imagery to see how well it's done at stopping the virus. But we're hoping that the strips work. They certainly seem to have an effect in 2020. Virus incidence in the 6 sites we went to was definitely less severe. There's no doubt about it, but then you've got to deal with the issue of the competition coming from the barley and crowding out the beet. So most of those sites, whilst expression was a lot lower, yield sometimes was very significantly affected by the barley. So make sure you kill it off at an appropriate time. You don't want it getting too big. Don't wait for the aphids to come along if your barley's going to start really taking out your beet crop. So you need to get in there with your graminicide.
So this is really a call for grower scientists, isn't it? You want growers to have a go at doing trials for us.
So obviously at BBRO we have a limited resource, and here at Morley we'll probably have nearly 1,000 plots in this field, but with the barley it's just not possible to do that. We want big strips in field because we're trying to affect the migration. It's not an aphicide, we're not trying to kill them with a chemical, it is trying to deter them from the field. So this really lends itself to on-farm grower trials, and Alistair put together the document, so hopefully there's some clear instruction, and hopefully as an industry we can all learn from those on-farm trials.
And obviously you, Alistair, particularly are going to be on hand to help anybody if there's any queries or anyone's not sure about what to do. You'll be there to help them through.
Yeah, definitely. Phone numbers on the website, or drop us an email to the plant clinic email address and we'll make sure someone from the crop protection team gets back to you pretty quick. So.
And have you had much uptake from growers so far?
We're several fields that have given it a go.
Yeah, definitely. Some of the early drilling stuff, in the Brecklands and the light land, that's already gone in, and they've managed to get those strips established. So hopefully plenty more uptake, and we'll have a really good data set to analyse and have some messaging for next year and going forward.
And that's not the only sort of camouflage type trial we have this year. You're also doing some food dye, aren't you?
Yes, so BBRO are definitely willing to explore all options at this point, and there is research that aphids are attracted to the green-brown of the established crop. So if we can disrupt that, then hopefully they will be less encouraged to fly into our sugar beet crop. One such method is using a food dye product. We picked that up last summer and got it in place, and we have actually been doing some autumn trials as well, which obviously we can't take to yield, but we can do aphid counts, etc. So we have had one attempt at it back in the autumn. Unfortunately for the trials, the aphid numbers were very low, but we're expecting, obviously, with the bigger migration this spring, that we can get some data. So most of the BBRO sites will probably have a patchwork of food dye established in them in April, and hopefully we'll see that reflected in the yield.
And what colours are you using?
So red, blue and green. So green is obviously we're trying to blend everything in, whereas the red and blue we're trying to deter them all together from the crop.
Okay, so if you're colourblind, you might have a little bit of a problem with something.
Which I am, so it does make it interesting, but it's quite distinct, so you won't confuse it for anything else. Obviously,
we're looking at new and innovative ways of trying to deter the aphids. Is there any other work that you require growers support with, or they can help you with?
The list is endless, Chairs. But one thing we're really keen to look at this spring as well, and take advantage of the large migration, is some repellency work. So using natural essential oils in the field. So I've looked at all sorts of things online, but we're going to go for some hopefully more run-of-the-mill things. So lavender extract, mint oil, garlic, and maybe some sugar beet derived molasses and raffinate as well. So we're hoping that they'll give off strong smells. I'm sure the garlic definitely will. Anyone who's now using Nemgard will know that their fields are already smelling, but can we now use these as a foliar spray when we see the aphids coming, spray it on, and then look at any deterrent effect it has on stopping them landing. So
now I do remember quite a few years ago doing something similar where we looked at I think we classed it as Agent Orange, but the lovely orange smell actually brought more insects to us than it didn't. So this is trial and error, isn't it, on occasion?
Afraid so, yeah. No, it's early days. we've not tried any repellency before. I think the Agent Orange was supposed to kill the aphids, wasn't it, as an aphicide, but clearly did not have that effect, whereas this is to release adequate amounts of smell into the atmosphere and really put the aphids off even thinking about coming into land.
Now, I'm doing my best to stand, downwind of you, really, because I know you've also been looking at your garlic work for the NemGuard project, aren't you?
Definitely.
So are we going to have the same issues with the new additives you're looking at?
Well, I suppose the good thing about NemGuard is it's not toxic. So whilst it does smell very strong of garlic, unlike its predecessor Vidate, it's not going to do any harm. So I don't mind going home smelling of garlic at the end of the day, and it does wash off. But some of these volatiles, that they obviously do need to give off an aroma to do their job. But hopefully the likes of mint and lavender will be a welcome addition to the aroma of East Anglia and the East Midlands.
I would hope we're going to have a very zen team, aren't we? The field team are going to be nice and relaxed for the rest of this year.
I don't know if we'll be relaxed. The challenge with these products is we're going to be trying to apply them before the migration. So the model will be vital, and just yellow waterpan network will probably become the trigger to apply these. So we won't be waiting for threshold, as they're not an aphicide. We're trying to deter them. So there'll be plenty of stress getting that product out and on the field, I think. Clearly,
we're going to be monitoring aphids very closely this year, and I think the expected first flight is around about the 19th of April.
Give or take, yeah. Obviously, it's a model and it's not definitive, but and if these warm temperatures carry on, they could come even earlier. But yes, for those of you who aren't using cruiser seed, it is a case of back on our hands and knees out in the field and looking for aphids and applying aphicides at threshold. So same story we've been saying for several years now, but we will have our monitoring network in place, so a combination of in-field plant counts of aphids on them and about 10 to 12 BBRO operated yellow waterpan sites.
And normally we do see the first aphids coming in sort of round about the berry area, don't we, then moving up?
Correct, yeah. So that as time goes on, the migration moves further and further north. So, yes, those of you around Cambridge especially, that is usually the first hotspot. So,
but at least we know a lot more about them, and we've got some methods to cope with them. Those that use the Cruiser SB have obviously got that extra protection.
So Insist is fully registered now.
Right.
So like with us in our trials, they are non-cruiser. So we'll be, not only have we got the yellow waterpan, but we'll be out checking for green wingless and we'll be going on with that first aphicide as soon as it's required.
So really that's all eyes on you, Stephen, because if you've got untreated and you're using the sprays, we expect to see them nice and clean.
Fingers crossed. We're drilling our Titan trial today, and we've got brassicas and rye strips going in to try and protect those trials from the natural inoculum. But we're in the same boat, and it'll just be as diligent as we can to get those aphicide timings right. So
we'll be supporting the growers throughout, won't we?
Yeah, no, and if we're at threshold and spraying, we'll be sure to put that in the bulletin and flag that we're doing it.
All right, so we look forward to coming back and hearing more about the endophyte grass, if that's worked. Growers will know if the dyes have worked, because if they haven't, you'll have green cakes at BBRO events in future. And please do watch out. In the mid of April, we'll be releasing the dates for our demo farms over the summer. So hopefully we'll catch up with you all soon. Thank you both very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Ches.
That's all for this month. Don't forget that you can access all the latest information on the aphid survey via BBRO Plus. That's accessible for growers via the bbro.co.uk website. April also sees the release of the 2023 RL. These varieties will be available to view at the BBRO Demo Farm events throughout the summer. So on behalf of BBRO, thank you very much for listening.